The palace of the Celestian Empire was always bright, tall, and filled with echoes of power. Every step made a soft sound against the smooth blue floors. But on the morning when the human Rowan arrived, the halls felt strangely quiet. The guards whispered. The advisors frowned. And Princess Liara walked with a calm face, hiding her frustration. She did not want this marriage. She did not want this alliance. And she did not want a human husband, especially a quiet, simple one who looked like he barely belonged in a royal hall. Rowan followed behind her as they walked through the long corridor. He looked peaceful, almost too calm, with soft brown eyes and a gentle expression. His hands were behind his back and he walked like someone who never wanted to disturb anything. He smiled politely at everyone who stared at him with curiosity. To the palace he looked harmless. To Liara he looked boring. She spoke without turning. You walk very quietly for someone from a loud species. Rowan blinked. Humans can be quiet when we need to be. Liara sighed softly. But why? You are not a spy. You are not a warrior. There is no reason to hide your steps. Rowan simply smiled. Habit, I guess. His answer confused her. Why would a human need such a habit? Humans were supposed to be emotional, loud, and easy to read. But Rowan was none of those things. He walked like someone who lived in shadows even when there was light. They reached the royal hall where the council waited. The tall blue pillars rose to the ceiling, and the air shimmered with soft energy. The council members whispered again as Rowan entered. Some looked amused. Some looked disappointed. One of them leaned toward another and whispered loudly, "This is the human representative? He looks like a scholar, not a partner for the princess." Liara heard it. Rowan probably did too, but he did not react. He simply looked around the hall like he was studying something. The walls, the glowing patterns, the old symbols carved into the floor. Liara lifted her chin. "We begin the ceremony." The room quieted. The words were spoken. The alliance was sealed. Rowan bowed respectfully as the royal band played soft music. He never looked nervous. He never looked overwhelmed. He stood still and calm as if this huge moment meant nothing to him. Liara felt strange. Something about his stillness bothered her. After the ceremony ended, she guided him toward his new room in the north wing. "You will stay here. It is the quieter part of the palace. Less visitors. Less noise." "That sounds perfect," Rowan said. Liara paused. Most guests preferred the central halls where the luxury was greater. But this human preferred quiet? It felt unusual. As she opened the door to his new chamber, the lights flickered for a moment. Liara frowned. "That is strange. The palace lights do not flicker." Rowan looked at the ceiling with a curious expression. "Not a power issue," he murmured. "Something else." Liara raised an eyebrow. "You can tell?" He nodded lightly. "Energy distortion. Very faint." Liara felt a chill. How could he sense that? Only trained engineers could feel energy shifts, and they needed special devices. Before she could ask more, a soft pulse rolled through the hallway. It was so gentle that most people wouldn't notice. But Liara noticed. The air trembled. The lights dimmed, then returned to normal. Rowan exhaled slowly. "There it is again." You felt it?" Liara asked. He nodded. "Someone is using an old system under the palace. Something connected to energy patterns." Liara stared at him. "Humans cannot sense this. Even I can barely sense it." He smiled politely. "Maybe I'm just sensitive to certain things." This answer did not satisfy her. Not at all. When she returned to her own chambers, she sat in silence, her mind running fast. Rowan acted simple, harmless, sweet, but he sensed energy shifts without trying. His steps were quiet. His eyes followed old symbols on the palace walls as if he understood them. And he did not react when the council insulted him. Most humans would show irritation. Rowan showed nothing. Later that night, the palace fell into its usual calm. Stars outside the crystal windows shined softly. But as Liara prepared to sleep, she felt it again, a pulse. A deeper one. Stronger. Like something waking up under the palace. She left her room quickly and followed the faint energy trail. It led her to the north wing. To Rowan's room. The door was not fully closed. A soft blue light leaked out from the edges. Liara pushed the door gently and stepped inside. She froze. Rowan was standing near the window, the blue palace energy reflecting on his face. He was not touching anything, yet the light around him bent slightly as if reacting to him. His eyes were calm but focused. His posture was strong, not quiet. He looked different. Not weak. Not harmless. Not innocent. Liara slowly stepped forward. "You are awake." Rowan turned to her with a gentle smile, as if nothing strange was happening. I couldn't sleep. The energy pulse was strong again. Liara's voice dropped. How do you sense it? He looked at her for a long moment. His eyes were calm again, soft and peaceful, as if hiding something behind them. Humans notice things, he said simply. But Liara felt the truth was much deeper. She did not understand it yet, but she could feel it. This human, this quiet man the galaxy thought was harmless. There was something in him that did not match his gentle face. Something old. Something powerful. Something he was hiding. Liara stepped back slowly, her heartbeat louder now. Rowan looked harmless, but she no longer believed it. This quiet human carried a secret. And the palace had just begun to feel his presence. Princess Liara could not stop thinking about Rowan the next morning. She sat at the long crystal dining table, trying to enjoy her meal, but her mind returned again and again to the strange way the palace lights had bent around him. She remembered how he had stood near the window, calm and focused, as if he understood the pulse of the palace better than the engineers who studied it all their lives. Rowan entered the dining hall quietly. He bowed politely. Good morning, Princess. His voice was gentle, but Liara watched him carefully. She didn't see fear in his eyes. She didn't see confusion. She saw something else, someone who knew more than he admitted. You woke early, she said. Rowan smiled a little. The palace was active. Liara frowned. Active? The palace is calm. Nothing unusual happened. Rowan looked at her for a moment before sitting down. You did not feel the pulse at sunrise? Liara froze. She had felt something only for a moment. A small vibration through the walls. She thought it was her imagination. How did you sense it? She asked quietly. He looked at his cup of tea. I listen. Liara stared at him. His answer was simple, but she felt something behind it. Humans were emotional beings. They talked too much, they reacted too quickly, and they showed everything on their faces. But Rowan was nothing like that. He hid his thoughts behind soft smiles and quiet words. The palace guards entered the hall, whispering urgently. Liara turned her head slightly to listen. The energy monitors caught another spike, one guard said. Third spike in 2 days, another whispered. Someone might be activating the old power grid. Liara's eyes widened. The old power grid was buried under the palace, sealed for centuries. Only the royal engineers knew its purpose, and even they feared it. She looked at Rowan. He did not look surprised. Later that day, Liara walked through the palace gardens with Rowan beside her. The trees glowed blue under the sunlight, and the energy vines curled softly across the ground. It was peaceful, but Liara's mind was not. She watched Rowan from the corner of her eye. He walked with his hands behind his back, studying the plants, the towers, the guards, everything. He did not look like a guest. He looked like someone mapping the palace. She finally asked, How much do you know about this place? Rowan looked at a vine that hummed with energy. I read about Celestian structures. They are beautiful. That is not what I meant, Liara said firmly. You look around as if you understand the palace. She stepped in front of him, forcing him to stop. Tell me the truth. How much do you know? Rowan met her eyes. His expression stayed gentle, but something sharp flickered behind his calm gaze. Princess, knowing a little is not dangerous. Liara stepped closer. But you know more than a little. Rowan sighed softly and looked away. Humans feel energy differently. Some of us more than others. It is not a skill I talk about. Liara blinked. Why not? Because most people get afraid when humans sense things they cannot, he said quietly. He lifted a hand and pointed to a tall blue tree. This tree listens to vibrations in the air. I do the same. Liara stared at him. His explanation was simple, almost innocent, but she still felt he was hiding something deeper. As they walked back inside, the lights above them flickered again. Liara felt a faint tremble in the air. Rowan stopped walking. He closed his eyes. South Wing, he whispered. Liara's heart skipped. What about it? Something shifted, he murmured. Someone moved a core plate. Liara looked at him in disbelief. You sensed that? He nodded. They rushed to the south wing where royal engineers were already gathered. They looked shocked when they saw the princess. One engineer bowed quickly. Your Highness, there was a small disturbance. A panel activated itself. By itself? Liara asked. The engineer swallowed. Yes. No one touched it. Rowan stepped closer. Which panel? The engineers exchanged confused looks. Liara lifted her chin. Answer him. The head engineer guided them to a sealed door. This panel controls the lower grid. It should never activate unless someone uses an old access command. But we detected no command signal. Rowan placed a hand near the metal surface, not touching it but sensing it. Someone is rerouting power, he murmured. Not for damage. For access. Liara stared at him. How do you know? He opened his eyes. Because I can feel the pattern. And because someone like me would do it. Liara froze. Someone like you? She whispered. Rowan looked at her with calm eyes. Someone who can hear the palace. Silence filled the hallway. Liara's heart beat faster. Rowan, what exactly can you do? He stepped back from the panel. It's not something I talk about, he said softly. Not because I want to lie. But because people always misunderstand. They think it's dangerous. Liara took a slow breath. You can sense energy. You understand systems. You knew about the grid spikes. And you are calm while the rest of us worry. Rowan looked away, his shoulders tensing for the first time. I did not come here to cause fear. Liara studied him. This man who looked gentle. This human who everyone thought was simple, was anything but simple. There was a secret behind his calm eyes. A secret he carried alone. A secret he never spoke about. As they walked back toward the main hall, Rowan slowed down. His voice was soft. Princess, someone in this palace knows the same things I know. Someone is opening something below us. Liara felt cold. And you can stop them? Rowan did not answer. He only said, I can find them. Liara realized then that her human husband was not quiet because he was weak. He was quiet because he knew far more than anyone expected. And his secret was only beginning to reveal itself. The palace grew silent after Rowan left the celebration hall. The alien Princess Lyra had never seen him look so serious. He was always calm, always gentle, always the quiet human who never raised his voice. But that moment, when he stared at the foreign envoy with cold eyes, felt different. It felt like something inside him had changed. Lyra could not sleep. She kept thinking about Rowan's past, the one he never talked about. Every time she asked, he would smile softly and say, it's nothing important. But she felt it now. It was important. And maybe dangerous. A soft knock came at her chamber door. Her old advisor, Maltrin, stepped inside with a worried expression. Princess, he whispered, there is something you must see in the royal archives. Something connected to your husband. Lyra froze. Connected to Rowan? How? Maltrin hesitated, then shook his head. It is better if you see it yourself. Lyra followed him down the long halls, her heart beating fast. She always found the archives boring. Dusty shelves, old scrolls, forgotten history. But today the air felt colder, heavier, as if the walls were hiding a truth that should have never been buried. They reached a sealed door. Maltrin pressed his palm to a glowing panel. The heavy lock clicked open. Inside, a dim blue light filled the room. Shelves towered above them, filled with ancient records. Maltrin walked straight to a restricted corner, one even the princess rarely visited. Rowan's name appears in a report from 15 years ago, Maltrin said quietly. Lyra frowned. That cannot be. He is from Earth. Earth has no ties to our archives. That is what we believed, Maltrin whispered. He handed her a small metallic tablet. Read. Lyra took a deep breath and tapped the screen. A hologram opened. A battlefield. A burning colony. And at the center, one human. She gasped. Rowan looked younger, but she recognized him instantly. Same eyes. Same calm posture. But everything else was different. His armor was damaged, his clothes covered in ash. Around him lay giant creatures from a hostile species. They were defeated, all of them, by one human soldier. Lyra's hands trembled. This is impossible. Humans are peaceful. Humans avoid war. Maltrin shook his head slowly. Humans avoid war, until something forces them. The hologram continued. Rowan stood between a group of injured alien civilians and an entire enemy force. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He fought alone until reinforcements arrived. Lyra watched in silence. Her chest tightened. She always thought Rowan was simply kind and quiet. She never imagined he carried a past like this. Why was this hidden? She whispered. Maltrin sighed. Because Rowan asked our council to bury it. He requested it as a final act before leaving that battlefield. He refused medals. He refused acknowledgement. He simply disappeared into civilian life. Lyra's mind raced. He never wanted anyone to know. Yes, Maltrin said. And there is more. He handed her another file. This one showed a message exchange between intergalactic commanders. They spoke of a human unit known not for brutality but for loyalty. A unit that protected civilians at any cost. A unit that could become a storm if pushed too far. And Rowan was part of it. Lyra closed her eyes. He kept all this inside him. Alone. For the first time she understood his silence. It wasn't emptiness. It was a shield. A way to protect others from the weight he carried. But she also felt afraid, not of Rowan himself, but of what could happen if someone dragged that soldier out of him again. Then she remembered the envoy from earlier. The envoy who insulted Earth and threatened her kingdom. Her stomach tightened. What if someone tries to provoke him? She whispered. Maltran nodded. That is what I fear. And I believe he is already on edge. Lyra held the tablet against her chest. She realized something important. Rowan didn't hide his past because he wanted to lie. He hid it because he wanted peace. He didn't want anyone to look at him with fear or expectation. He just wanted a quiet life beside her. But the galaxy didn't care about his peace. Suddenly the archive lights flickered. A guard rushed into the room, panting. Princess, he said breathlessly. There is a problem. Rowan, he left the palace. He is heading to the outer landing platforms. Lyra's heart jumped. Why? We don't know, Princess, the guard said. But he looked different. Like he was ready for a confrontation. Lyra didn't wait another second. She ran. Her steps echoed through the stone corridors. Her lungs burned, but she didn't stop. She pushed open the palace doors and hurried toward the platforms, where ships came and went at all hours. Cold night air brushed against her face. Distant thunder rolled across the sky. She spotted Rowan standing near the edge, his back straight, his hands clenched at his sides. He stared at a docking ship, the envoy's ship. Lyra slowed down. She could feel the storm inside him from meters away. Rowan, she called softly. He didn't turn. She walked closer. Why are you here? His voice was calm, but there was something beneath it, something heavy. I am making sure that Envoy leaves safely. Lyra blinked. Safely? Safely away from us, Rowan said. He came to provoke war. And if he stays longer, he will succeed. Lyra stepped beside him. The night light made his face look sharper, older. She could see pain in his eyes. Rowan, she whispered, I know. He finally looked at her. Know what? I saw the archives. I know who you were. His expression changed. Not anger. Not fear. Just sadness. I didn't want you to see that, he murmured. She took his hand gently. You protected people. That is not something to hide. Rowan looked down. It is something I wanted to leave behind. Lyra squeezed his hand. You don't have to fight again. Not for me. Not for this kingdom. But Rowan shook his head slowly. If someone threatens you, I will always stand between you and danger. That part of me will never disappear. Lyra understood now. The quiet human she married was not weak. He was strong in ways she couldn't see. And his gentleness was not softness, it was control. The envoy's ship lifted off the platform with a loud hum. Rowan watched it rise into the sky until it disappeared into the clouds. Only then did he release a long, tired breath. Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. You are safe here, Rowan. You don't have to be a soldier anymore. He looked at the stars, his voice soft. I hope the galaxy allows that. Lyra made a silent promise to herself. If the galaxy wouldn't give Rowan peace, she would protect it for him. Because now she knew the truth hidden behind his gentle smile. And she loved him even more for it. The next morning, the palace felt strangely tense. Servants whispered in hallways. Guards walked faster than usual. Even the sky above the capital looked darker, as if a storm was trying to form in the quiet air. Rowan woke early, long before the sun rose. He stood by the window of their shared chambers, watching the horizon slowly turn gold. Lyra watched him silently from the bed. He looked peaceful, but she could feel something heavy behind his calm expression. She knew he hadn't slept. When she finally spoke, her voice was gentle. You didn't rest. Rowan shook his head. My mind was too busy. Lyra got up and walked to him. You were thinking about the envoy. And the message he will send to his people, Rowan replied quietly. They won't accept losing influence. They will try again. And they will use force. Lyra felt a cold shiver. She had believed the envoy's departure meant things would calm down. But Rowan saw deeper than she did. He understood war, politics, and the dark strategies leaders used when hungry for power. Before Lyra could respond, a loud alarm echoed through the palace. Rowan turned instantly. Lyra grabbed his arm. What is that? Defense alarm, Rowan said, already moving toward the door. Something is approaching the capital. They rushed through the hallways as guards scrambled toward their stations. Lights flashed red across the walls. The palace, usually full of soft music and peaceful workers, now felt like a fortress preparing for attack. General Vareth met them at the command balcony. His face was pale. "Princess, a foreign fleet has entered orbit without permission," he said. "They are from the Envoy's empire." Lyra's heart sank. "So soon?" Vareth nodded. "They sent a message demanding we hand over information about your human husband. They claim Rowan is a threat to intergalactic order." Rowan blinked slowly. Of course they would twist the story. Lyra stepped forward. "Tell me their exact message." Vareth took a breath. "They said, the human soldier known as Rowan is a weapon that must be controlled or destroyed. Deliver him to us or face consequences." Lyra felt fury rise inside her. "They come into our space and make demands? They insult our kingdom and threaten my husband?" She looked at Rowan. "We will not give them anything." Rowan's jaw tightened. "Lyra, listen. They're not here to negotiate. They want to provoke fear. They want to make you doubt me." She shook her head. "I will not." But even as she said it, the sky outside darkened from the shadows of starships. The fleet was large, too large for a peaceful visit. Rowan studied the hologram. His voice remained calm but firm. "Your shields will hold for now. But they didn't come only to intimidate. They want me. And they won't leave without a fight." Lyra placed her hand on his arm. "You are not going anywhere." Rowan turned to her and for a moment, his eyes softened. "I won't leave you, Lyra. But I need to help. Your guards don't know their tactics. Your generals don't understand how these people think. I do." Vareth looked between them. "Princess, we may need his insight." Lyra swallowed her fear. She wanted to protect Rowan, to keep him safe inside the palace. But she realized he wasn't asking to fight. He was asking to stop a war. He wanted to protect her kingdom the same way he protected civilians in the past. Finally she nodded. "Then do what you must." Rowan stepped toward the command table. "First, send a message to their commander. Tell them the princess will speak." Lyra blinked. "Me?" Rowan nodded. "You need to show them strength. They expect fear. Don't give it to them." Lyra breathed deeply, then activated the communication link. A screen opened, showing the hostile commander, tall, armored, with cruel eyes. He smirked. "Princess Lyra, I expected your council to deliver the human to us already." Lyra lifted her chin. "My husband is not a weapon. He is not your property. And we will not hand him over." The commander's smile faded. "You are making a mistake. That human is dangerous." Rowan stepped into view beside her. The commander flinched just slightly. Rowan spoke calmly. "Commander, if you believed I was dangerous, you would not provoke me." The commander's nostrils flared. "You think we fear you?" Rowan replied, "You should fear your own decisions, not me." The alien growled and cut the transmission. Vareth exhaled. "They're charging weapons." "Of course they are," Rowan said softly. "They only respect force." Lyra felt a painful twist in her chest. Rowan wasn't angry. He wasn't afraid. He was steady, controlled. A soldier who had seen this pattern many times before. "General," Rowan said, "prepare shield modulation. They'll target your weak points. I'll guide your team." Hours passed like minutes. Rowan stood among officers, giving clear instructions, predicting every enemy move before it happened. "Redirect power grid here. Don't fire yet, they want you to waste energy. They're deploying ground units. Prepare interceptors." The palace staff watched him with wide eyes. This quiet human, the one who smiled softly at servants and helped gardeners carry pots, now moved like a trained strategist. Not with rage. With precision. With strength the Empire had ignored. When the enemy fleet launched a full attack, Rowan stood at the balcony beside Lyra. Explosions lit the sky. Energy shields shimmered under pressure. Lyra grabbed his hand tightly. "Rowan, they won't stop." Rowan looked out at the battle. "They will." "How do you know?" "Because they underestimate humans," Rowan said. "And they underestimate you." Lyra's heart warmed despite the danger. "Me?" "Yes," Rowan said softly. "You have something they don't. You have unity. You have people willing to stand for peace." A sudden alarm cut through the noise. "Princess, enemy breach in the lower wing," a guard shouted. Rowan didn't hesitate. "I'm going." Lyra grabbed his arm. "No." He looked into her eyes. "I promised I would protect this kingdom. I promised I would protect you." She saw it again in his eyes, the quiet storm he carried. Not violence. Not fury. Responsibility. She nodded with shaking breath. Come back to me. Rowan gave a small warm smile. Always. He ran into the palace, moving with speed and purpose no one had seen from him before. Every soldier who saw him pass felt it. Human strength. Not brute power. Not anger. A strength that came from loyalty, courage, and the desire to shield what he loved. A strength the Empire ignored. A strength they would soon regret provoking. The battle outside the palace slowly faded as the enemy fleet pulled back into space. Smoke drifted across the sky, and the air smelled of burnt metal. The capital city was hurt, but it still stood. The shields had held. The people had survived. But inside the palace, Rowan had not returned yet. Lyra waited in the command room, her hands trembling even though she tried to hide it. Every time footsteps echoed in the hall, her heart lifted, and then dropped. She wanted to run through the palace herself, but she knew she had to stay here in case the generals needed her decisions. General Vareth approached carefully. Princess, the enemy ground team has been pushed out. The lower wing is safe now. Lyra swallowed hard. And Rowan? Vareth lowered his eyes. We have soldiers searching. Lyra closed her eyes. She had trusted Rowan to be strong. She had trusted him to come back. She had seen him face danger with calm courage many times now, but the longer she waited, the deeper fear grew inside her. Then finally footsteps echoed again. This time they were steady. Familiar. Rowan walked into the command room, covered in dust and small burns, but standing strong. Lyra rushed to him, unable to stop herself. She didn't care who watched. She threw her arms around him. Rowan gently wrapped his arms around her. I'm okay. You took so long, she whispered. I had to make sure the others were safe, Rowan said softly. I promised you I'd come back. Lyra pulled back slightly and looked into his tired but warm eyes. And you kept your promise. General Vareth stepped forward. Rowan, your actions today saved this kingdom. The enemy pulled back because their ground team failed. Without you, they might have broken through. Rowan shook his head. Not me alone. Your soldiers fought with bravery. Vareth gave him a rare smile. Because they believed in you. Later that day, the council gathered to discuss the future. For the first time, humans and Celestians sat at the same table. Ambassadors from nearby systems also arrived, curious about the strange human who faced a fleet with calm strategy. Lyra stood at the head of the table. Rowan stood beside her, not as a servant or a guest, but as a partner. The council members watched him with respect and curiosity. Lyra began speaking. My people, today our kingdom survived an attack from an empire that believed humans are dangerous. But we all saw what happened. Rowan saved us. Not with force. Not with rage. He saved us because he wanted peace. A council elder nodded. The enemy's actions showed fear. Not of war, but of what humans could be when respected. Another council member added, if one human can do this much, imagine what humans and Celestians could achieve together. Rowan felt a quiet warmth inside his chest. He had never wanted attention. He never wanted to be a symbol. But now, the possibility of something better, the possibility of unity, felt real. Lyra looked at Rowan. My husband taught us that strength does not always mean anger. Sometimes, it means standing firm when everyone else runs. Sometimes, it means believing in peace even when others demand war. The room fell silent as she continued. I propose a new partnership between our species. A partnership of sharing knowledge, protecting each other, and growing together. Humans have been overlooked for too long. Today proves they deserve respect. The council members murmured in agreement. Rowan cleared his throat gently. If I may speak. Everyone turned to him. I am just one human, Rowan said calmly. There are many others with strengths different from mine. Humans are not perfect. Celestians are not perfect. No species is perfect. But if we share our strengths, maybe we can build something better than fear. Lyra smiled softly. She loved his humility. He never tried to exaggerate his value. He spoke with honesty, and that honesty made others trust him. An ambassador from another star system stood. If your kingdom forms this partnership, our people will support it. Humans helped us in past wars. We will honor them now. One by one, voices joined in agreement. The foundation of a new alliance formed right there. After the council dismissed, Lyra and Rowan walked through the palace gardens. The glowing blue plants had begun to brighten again, recovering from the shock of the attack. Soft light filled the paths, reflecting on Rowan's calm face. Lyra touched one of the glowing leaves gently. Rowan, Today changed everything. Rowan walked beside her, silent for a moment. Then he said, "It changed because of you." Lyra looked at him with surprise. "Me? You stood strong," he said. "You didn't let fear control you. You didn't give in to the Empire's demands. You showed them what true leadership looks like." Lyra felt warmth spread in her chest. "And you showed them what true strength looks like." Rowan chuckled softly. "Strength is easier when I have something to protect." She looked at him, understanding exactly what he meant. They reached the edge of the garden where the view of the city stretched far into the horizon. People in the streets cheered when they saw their silhouettes. News had already spread, about the human who stood against a fleet, about the princess who defended him, about the new partnership forming between their worlds. Lyra stepped closer to Rowan. "The galaxy will change because of what happened today." Rowan nodded slowly. "It will. But change is good." She slipped her hand into his. He held it tightly, grounding her as always. "Do you regret coming here?" she asked softly. Rowan turned his head, looking at her with a small smile. Not for a single moment. Together, they watched the sky where the enemy fleet had disappeared. The clouds slowly parted, letting warm sunlight fall across the city. Lyra whispered, "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" "Yes," Rowan said softly. "A beginning for both our species." In that peaceful silence, with sunlight touching their faces and the kingdom healing below them, it became clear to both of them. Humans and Celestians would no longer fear each other. They would learn from one another. They would stand side by side. And it all started with a quiet human who everyone underestimated, and the princess who believed in him. A new partnership had begun, one that would shape the future of two worlds.